Good evening, universe. Tonight I'm going to be reflecting on the goals that I set at the beginning of this year and see how I'm doing. Kind of like a mid-year check-in. It's about that time, and I just did the mid-year freakout tag, and I am just in the mood to kind of check in with my reading goals. So the first personal goal that I made this year is to read 5 non-fantasy books. I have read I think 2 books. I read In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, as well as One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. I'm just going to double check all my reads this year, but I'm pretty sure those are the only 2 non-fantasy books that I've read. Yeah. So those are the only non-fantasy books that I've read so far this year. So I have 3 more to read before the end of the year in order to reach that goal. That doesn't seem too hard. Again, 5 books is not that many, and I'm already almost halfway there. So I think I can definitely achieve this goal. I'd like to apologize if I'm touching my hair a lot in this video. It's in a very awkward grow out phase, and I can't keep it out of my face for more than like 2 seconds at a time. Goal number 2 is to read something by Junji Ito. Specifically, I wanted to read Uzumaki. I did actually pick this up from the library, but I was not doing great at that time. And I didn't really want to read a horror book at that moment. So I returned it to the library, and now I'm going to have to rent it again in order to achieve this goal. I think I can. I don't know how much I'm feeling the horror vibes right now, but I'm hoping when it gets a little bit later, a little bit less summery, then I'll be more into it. Goal number 3 is to get down to 10 books on my physical TBR. So in order to do that, after I finish going over the rest of my goals, I'm going to look through all of my physical TBR books and see how many I have left to see how possible this is. Goal number 4 was to finish the first era Mistborn trilogy, and this I have already accomplished. I finished reading The Hero of Ages a couple of months ago, and I really enjoyed it, so that's one goal that I have definitely achieved. The last goal is to start reading The Wheel of Time, which I believe begins with Eye of the World. I still intend to do this, but as I said at the beginning when I did my goals for the year video, I am a little intimidated by it, not because I don't think that I can read it at all. I used to read adult high fantasy as a kid. That was like my favorite genre, but it does take a lot of time and energy to get through such a chunky book. I know that probably the month that I'm reading that, I won't really be able to read much else, and I haven't really wanted to put that time investment into it yet. However, again, I'm hoping that I'll be more in the mood to do that closer towards the end of the year. Okay, so I took a couple minutes to gather up all of my TBR, and in the time that I did that, my next door neighbor started rocking out. So I apologize if you can hear their music at all. I don't think it will be picked up on the microphone, but if you do hear some sort of background jams, that's what's going on there. Also, gathering up the entirety of my TBR has made it abundantly clear that I probably will not achieve my goal of getting down to only 10 books on it by the end of this year, but let's have a look together. First of all, the entirety of the Seventh Tower series. I have read these books before. Well, I read some of these books before. I read them as a child, and I read the first one again as an adult in preparation to read the whole, series. These are by Garth Nix, by the way, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. These are middle grade, so I think they'll go quick once I do actually get around to them. This is it's like a high fantasy world where there's light magic, and then there are like mysterious shadows. I'm not explaining this well. I don't really remember what the series is about. Light magic, crystals, a veil of darkness? ? I'm not 100% sure, but I remember liking them as a kid, and I wanted that nostalgia, and I still want it, and I want to finish the series, so that's that. Next up, still in the middle grade category, we have the Magnus Chase series by Rick Riordan. I have, again, read the first book in this trilogy. I intend on reading it again just to get myself re-caught up on what's going on in this series, and then I'll be reading the second 2 books. If you don't know about the Magnus Chase series, they are similar to the Percy Jackson series in that there's a, younger boy, in this case a teen boy, Magnus Chase, who deals with Norse gods. Mirage by Samaya Dodd. I don't really remember what this is about. I think it's a sci-fi, actually, and I think it's the first in a duology. It's been a long time since I picked this up, but I keep hearing that it's really good, so I want to get to it at some point. Oh, I have not been keeping track of how many books that is. We're going to count each of the compilations of the Seventh Tower as two. Oh, well, a total of two instead of six. No, I'll be fair. Okay, so 6 books there. We have the 3 Magnus Chase books and Mirage. So we're at 10 so far already. Unfortunate. You know what? No. We're going 2 for the Seventh Tower series because they are currently compacted into 2 books. I'm counting them as 2. All right, 6 books so far. Next, A Treasury of Irish Fairy and Folk Tales. I just really love Irish folklore. I started reading this and I was writing very extensive notes, and I intend on continuing this. Also, look how beautiful this edition is. This is not high on my priority list. We're up to 7 books. Scavenge the Stars by Tara Sim. I really enjoyed her Timebreaker series. This is a retelling of The Count of Monte Cristo, and I'm excited to check it out. Dark Breaks the Dawn by Sarah B. Larson. I picked this up in a used bookstore. I believe it's a retelling of Swan Lake. Yes, I am not super excited about this one, but I do still intend to read it. Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nyan. This is the sequel to Girls of Paper and Fire. The 3rd book in the trilogy is also out. I really want to get to this so that I can see if I want to read the 3rd book in the trilogy. It takes place in a world where there is like this evil warlord who has women brought to him and they become his paper girls. Basically what that means is that they attend to him sexually. There are like different castes. The human women are of the paper caste and therefore the least important. The highest demon is like the moon caste or something like that. And they all have like animal features and stuff like that. So there's like a bull man is the evil warlord. He has like giant horns and I think like tusks and stuff like that. I liked the world a lot in this one, but I also really liked the setting of the first book a lot. And it looks like we're not going to be in that setting for the second book. So I was a little bit less excited, but I still want to find out where it goes. A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy. I don't remember what this book is about. I am still disappointed that I don't have the other cover, but I still want to read this. It looks cool. Got some knives. Definitely gonna check it out. A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne Brown. This is another one that I don't 100% remember what it's about. It's a high fantasy, and I believe it has a Sunshine Boy as one of the main characters, which I am very interested in. Can't wait to check this out. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I just realized I haven't been counting this whole time. Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. This is by the same writer who did Red Queen. I really loved that series. Excited to check this one out. I think this one includes like dimensional magic. I'm not really sure, but excited to find out. So we're up to 12 now. Hopefully I'll remember from here on out. Volumes 1 through 4 of Sailor Moon, the manga. I love these covers. Aren't they beautiful? Look at it. It's Sailor Jupiter. Isn't she cool? I have never read the manga for Sailor Moon. I was a big fan of the anime growing up, so I want to check it out for sure. I'll probably be collecting the whole series, but as of yet, I only have the first 4 volumes. I was at 12, so that brings us up to 16. Volumes 6 through 9 of Witch Hat Atelier. I talk about the series all the time. I love it so much. It's beautiful. The art is incredible, and the world building is great. I can't get enough of this series. That brings us up to 20 on the physical TBR. Mastiff and Bloodhound by Tamara Pierce. I read A Terrier, the first in this trilogy, which is the Beka Cooper trilogy. I read that a couple years ago when I was in college. This series was a gift from my brother because it is one of his all-time favorite series. I intend to get to them at some point soon. That brings us to 22. There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. This is another high fantasy that I don't remember the plot of, but I think it has assassins and looks like prophets. It's got one of those like a person who is person, you know, like that kind of ensemble cast. A prince exiled from his kingdom, a ruthless killer known as the Pale Hand, a once faithful leader torn between his duty and his heart, a reckless gambler with the power to find anything or anyone, and a dying girl on the verge of giving up. One of them, or all of them, could break the world. Will they be savior or destroyer? So excited to check that out. I love an ensemble cast of disparate types of people. Definitely going to be checking that out soon. It is the first in, I think, a trilogy. I believe the whole trilogy is out now, but obviously I don't want to buy it until I know if I like the first one. The Brilliant Death by Amy Rose Capetta. This is a book that I picked up for a queer read, so I'm planning to read it quite soon, maybe even this month. I don't know what this is about either, but it's beautiful, and I know it has a non-binary love interest. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I realize that I am so late on the train for this one, but I have heard that it's really good, that it has some like Avatar The Last Airbender vibes. Is it a duology? Because I've only ever seen the second book, so I don't know if there's just like a long wait between the second and third book or if it's just a duology. Either way, I'm gonna check that out soon. Okay, I just hit a whole bunch of complications all at once for this video, so we're gonna speed through these a little bit quickly. So we're at 24, Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. This has something to do with necromancy and possibly princesses based on the crown, but I don't really remember what this is about. Still excited to read it, kind of, but less so, mostly because I don't remember the plot anymore. Next up, The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Maureen Johnson, and Sarah Reese Brennan. I'm usually a big fan of these compilations of short stories, but I haven't gotten around to this one yet, mostly because, I mean, I like Magnus, but he's not my most favorite character in the world, but I'm sure I'll enjoy it when I do get to it. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is, you know, a classic. I picked it up because I really enjoyed Emma and Northanger Abbey. I haven't started reading it yet because I am afraid that it won't have as much humor as those other two. If you have read it, please let me know if it still has, you know, lots of humor in it, because that's really what I enjoyed about those other two books. Poison Princess and Endless Night by Cressley Cole. These are some more books that I have no idea what they're about. They were given to me by a friend when she was clearing out her bookshelves. She thinks I'll enjoy them. What is this guy doing? And that brings us up to 29. So we're at 29. 30, Bright We Burn by Kirsten White. This is the third book in the Conquerors saga, which begins with And I Darken. It is like a feminist retelling of Vlad the Impaler. Really enjoyed the first two books, but it's been a long time since I've read them, so I kind of haven't read this because I kind of forgot everything that happened in those books, but I'll get to it at some point. The Girl Who Fell Beneath Fairyland and Led the Revels there, as well as The Girl Who Soared Above Fairyland and Cut the Moon in Two. I don't have the second one on my person currently because it's in my wife's backpack, and then I surrounded myself with this fortress of books, and now I can't get out to get it. I am excited to check these books out. I really loved the first one. This is a cute, sweet, and sometimes heart-wrenching story about a girl who goes to Fairyland and goes on adventures, but it's really about the characters and the character development. The lead girl, her name is September, and I love her. I'm so excited to see the rest of her adventures. That is by Catherine Valent. That brings us up to 32. 13 Witches by Jodi Lynn Anderson. I have started reading this already, as you can tell. This is a middle grade about a young girl who finds out that the world is affected by witches, and that's why her mother cannot love her. It's very sad. And I put it down because it was just a little too much for me at the time and I wanted to read something else. I'll probably get back to it soon. That makes 34. Poison for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. You probably know Lemony Snicket as the writer of A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I love that series, but even more than that, I love All the Wrong Questions, also by him. This is not really like those. It's a mystery, but it's also a series of musings about the meaning of life. I think I'm really going to enjoy this when I get to it, but I wanted something a little bit more light, so I haven't picked it up yet. The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. I believe this is a urban fantasy where a mystical librarian has to take care of a mystical library and magic ensues. Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is a dark fairy tale. On the back it says, this isn't the kind of fairy tale where the princess marries a prince. It's the one where she kills him. So I'm excited to see where that goes. This is also very pretty. And this is beautiful. That secret little skeleton dog. I don't know. I'm excited though. Gilded by Marissa Meyer. This is another one that I picked up and then put down just because I wasn't feeling it at the moment. It is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and I'm definitely excited to check it out. It has a lot of fairies and fae and kind of some darkness. I am a big fan of Marissa Meyer, so I'm excited to get back to it soon. 38. The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. This was kindly sent to me by my sister. I was interested in this because of Murphy Napier's recommendations about it. It seems like it has a lot to do with memories and keys, and as a fan of Kingdom Hearts, I was into that. To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This is seemingly a retelling of of The Little Mermaid. Rana, who I also follow here on BookTube, said that she really enjoyed this. I was already excited about reading it, but I'm even more excited to pick it up now. It's a standalone, which I don't read too many of, but I've really been enjoying lately, so I'm super excited to check this out. Also sent to me kindly by my sister. I think that brings us to 36. The Kingdom of Copper and the Kingdom of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. These are about a djinn, and they're a high fantasy. They're for adults, and I don't really know too much about it beyond that, but I do love the covers. They're very cool, and I'm excited to get to them. That brings us to 38. And Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. I picked this up from a used bookstore. I was interested because Murphy Napier mentioned it. All I really know about it is that it has magicians in it. I love magic though. I'm excited to check it out. I don't even know if that's a standalone or a duology, so once again, if you know, please tell me. Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is a urban fantasy retelling / adaptation thingy of Arthurian legend. I've been told that it's a lot like Shadowhunters, so that excites me a lot. I've heard nothing but good things about this, and I was really intrigued by the first chapter. The only reason I haven't read it yet is because I was reading other Arthurian retellings at the time, and I didn't want to like overlap them. So I am planning on picking this up soon now that I have finished those. I believe that brings us to book 40. Then we have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I saw part of the TV adaptation for this, and I really enjoyed that. I have a friend who really loves this book. He says it's one of his favorites. It is a little bit intimidating in its size, and it's also got, you know, tiny print, but I am looking forward to reading it at some point soon. The Night and Its Moon by Piper CJ. This is it's got like a dark fairy story. It's an adult fantasy. I was mostly attracted by this beautiful cover and the fact that it started out as an indie publishing, and then it has, I think it's been picked up by a traditional publisher. She like made her own publishing house to publish this book, and then now it's getting I think she was able to hire like an editor, and that's what's going on. It's a quartet. Each of the books will be released over the next year. I think, 4 months apart. So this series is not completed yet, but all of the books will be out within the next year, which is really fast. So I'm excited to check this out. And it's queer. The Midnight Girls by Alicia Jasinka. This was a gift from my wife. I'm excited to check it out. It has something to do with ancient witches. I think they have to eat hearts or something like that. And I feel like it's going to be a queer enemies to lovers, but I'm not sure. I do need to finish wrapping this up though. The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chakchi. This was another gift from my sister. I apologize for the speed at which I'm recording this, but I have to go soon. I'm really excited to check this out. I've heard a lot of recommendations for this. People say it's similar to Six of Crows, but other people say that that's unfair to it. So I'm really excited to see where this falls. I do love a heist. Oh, I think that's all of them. Okay. So that was 44 books. Thank you all for joining me. Have a beautiful night, universe. Okay, one last note. I do not think I'm going to finish reading 34 more books before the end of the year. I do not think I will be able to get my TBR down to 10, but I'm definitely going to try. And that's where we're at with all my goals for this year. Just like this video, I am frazzled and I probably won't make it in time. Have a great night, universe.